What are the benefits of joining the Royal Stuart Society? And do you attend the annual dinners?
Again, I'll answer the second one first. On the few occasions I've been able to afford to be in England at the time, yes, I have, once or twice. And enjoyed them immensely, let me tell you. There's something about a white tie dinner that we Americans could really use. You're not Royal Stuart Society, I attended a different one in London one time, and went with some of the other goers to an after party at a bar. And there were a group of Americans. They looked at us all, the guys all in white tie. And one of them says to me, are you English or American? I said, I'm American. Oh, did you guys just come from a play? Were you in a play? Were you in a movie? I said, no. Well, why do you ask that? Well, the way you're dressed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, believe it or not, in this country, meaning Britain, people still dress this way sometimes for different things. And the fellow goes, wow, that is so PBS.
What? I don't know what that means.
Public Broadcasting System.
Yeah, but...
Well, that's where all the English,
that's
like
how they
Downton
relate
Abbey,
to...
Like Downton Abbey and Upstairs, Downstairs, that's where all the English period dramas show.
Oh. Okay.
All the mysteries. So in his mind, he immediately associated that kind of clothing with PBS.
Okay.
And, and all his pals are, oh, yeah, it's really PBS. Well, after they left, my English friend said, Charles, what do you mean by that? I tried to tell him, but I couldn't bring myself to. I really couldn't. Anyway, so that's the first question. On those rare occasions that I've been able to afford to be over there at the right time, yeah. Now, as to why you joined the Royal Stuart Society, well, that's a good question.
What is it, too?
That's another good question.
Yeah.
The Royal Stuart Society was founded after World War I by the survivors of a number of Jacobite societies, neo-Jacobite societies, that had existed before World War I. Now, if you ask why they broke up for the sake of the war, it's a good question. And the answer is that the Jacobite claims, the claims of the House of Stuart, had at that time descended to the Bavarian king. And of course, the king of Bavaria was on the other side in World War I. So pressing his claims during the war would have been a great way to go into a treason charge and spend the war in jail. Whereas, in fact, the vast majority of survivors of things like the Order of the White Rose were very prominent in war work. I mean, they were patriots. They weren't pro-German, despite the fact that they doubtless would have liked to have seen the King of Bavaria on the British throne. This didn't extend to wanting to see the Kaiser win. I know it's things get contradictory in life, just the way it is. But at any rate, again, as with so much else, Romanticism, the Romantic movement, had reminded the English-speaking world, and especially the British Isles, of the Jacobite cause. Now, unfortunately, as we know, the main line of the House of Stuart became extinct in 1807, and the family closest to the throne, closer than the House of Hanover that were actually sitting on the throne in the person of Queen Victoria. Their claims had gone through the female line from the House of Savoy to the House of Austria-Este and Modena to the Wittelsbachs, the Bavarians. That seems a bit odd, but if you can imagine, you've got a family, right? And they've got claims to a throne. Well, one throne is in the male line. Only men can inherit.
Yeah.
The other, women can inherit. Well, the three kingdoms, England, Scotland, and Ireland, their claims can go through the female line. So what happens? Cardinal York, the last main Stuart, dies. His nearest cousin is the King of Sardinia, the House of Savoy. Neither he nor his brothers have any sons. So eventually, the Kingdom of Sardinia goes to cousins, whose descendants now claim the throne. That throne. But one of them did have a daughter, and the Stuart claims went with her.
Okay.
She married the Duke of Modena. Their son was the claimant. But he had no sons. He did have a daughter. That daughter married a Wittelsbach prince. Do you see?
It's very complicated.
Everything in life that's worth knowing is complicated. That's why you didn't learn the alphabet and the times table in day one of first grade. But anyway, it is complicated, but suffice to say that female claims always jump houses, whereas male claims are straight until the house dies out. So, suffice to say that in the early part of the 19th century, in Spain, Portugal, and France, you had civil wars or other conflicts between the main line, the older line, generally was in favor of traditional monarchy, and a younger line that was usually in favor of liberalism of one kind or another. And the supporters of the older line in France, Spain, Portugal were generally called legitimists. In Spain, they were also called Carlists after their claim. This is all the prehistory.
Okay.
So it's a little complicated, but you'll understand. So what happened was that the main recruiting officer, etc., of the Carlists in London about 1880 was a gentleman called Lord Ashbourne, who was a convert to Catholicism. Now, keep that in mind. He was a Carlist. He believed in legitimate Catholic monarchy. He had become a Catholic. He knew about the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, and so forth. He looked at Britain and began to think, how do we apply those ideas to England? A legitimate traditional monarchy as opposed to the crowned republic we have.
Yeah.
Because you see, these dynastic issues was only part of it. They were, as I've said, ideological issues as well. So, suffice to say that under his aegis, a number of these neo-Jacobite societies grew up in England and Scotland and America.
Wow.
Yes. I'm not going to say it was a huge mass movement over here. I'd be lying if I said that.
Yeah.
But it was very much bound up also with the rise of Anglo-Catholicism amongst the Anglicans, the desire to re-Catholicize the Church of England and the Episcopal Church. Now, if you ever go to Boston, you will see a museum called the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, which was the home of a woman called Isabella Stewart Gardner. See, sometimes these things are easy. She and an architect called Ralph Adams Cram, who, if you live in LA, you'll know is the designer of the library of USC and the interior of St. Vincent's Church across from USC. They were the two leaders of the Order of the White Rose in North America. They used to have Jacobite meetings in the chapel of the Isabella Stewart Gardner House, now the museum. Again, the movement attracted a lot of writers and actors and artists. Why? Partly the romantic aspect. You bet. Lost causes are always romantic. And you know why that is?
Why?
Two reasons, basically. One, because they're filled with romantic young people who generally die bravely, rather than, as with the same kind of romantic young people on the other side, live to become these cynical old and middle-aged people that run the show afterwards.
Oh.
And secondly, the lost cause is never responsible for whatever garbage you're going through now.
That's true.
So there's always the what if. You know, if only the scum who rule us hadn't triumphed.
Right.
Maybe things would be really different. Now maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. That's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
But that what if is a terribly exciting one. However, I digress. So you have these very interesting characters that formed these Jacobite groups, neo-Jacobite groups in England. Some of them were Celtic nationalists because the Cornish, the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh were all rediscovering their traditional cultures at the same time. And of course, remember that the Stuarts, like the main line of the House of Bourbon in France, like the Carlist Bourbons in Spain, and so on, believed in local liberties. They didn't believe in centralized government and mashing everything into one unified thing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these folk came into this neo-Jacobite movement. A lot of the founders of various Scots, Welsh, Cornish, Irish nationalist parties, those living at that time, were members of these neo-Jacobite groups. Then there were those who, as I say, wanted to see the monarchy of Great Britain transformed from the crown republic it is into something more traditional, along the lines of what the Jacobite monarchy had been. But then, as I mentioned, came World War I. Everybody got out of the business. Why? They didn't want to be thought of as traitors. The war is over. Germany's overthrown all her kings, not just the Kaiser/King of Prussia, but everybody from the self-same King of Bavaria down to the smallest prince or duke. So it's okay again. And in 1922, the Royal Stuart Society is founded. And very early on, it attracts some pretty heavy-hitting writers and artists and so on, including the great Compton Mackenzie, whom you've never heard of, but is an important character. And what the Royal Stuart Society did then and does now is try to bring together people interested in both the Cavaliers of the English Civil War era, or the Wars of the Three Kingdoms, as they call them now, and the Jacobites, people with interest in them, or people who descended from families involved in them, or anything like that. People interested in, for want of a better word, I can only call traditional monarchical culture, which then was not a majority view. The difference, of course, is that the majority view in those days was far more decent than what it's become now. The whole scale shifted downward.
Yeah.
So, and I mean that in as nasty a way as I possibly can. Anyway, so what is the benefit of belonging to the Royal Stuart Society? Well, if you are looking for a cabal of plotters who are about to overthrow the Windsors and replace them with the current Stuart heir, keep looking.
Oh.
I know. But if you are looking for people and an organization and publications dedicated to the same unchanging values and principles that their predecessors held, then it's a really good place. And there are some absolutely splendid people. I'm an exception, but there are really splendid people who belong to it. And I'm very, very happy to know them and to have dealt with them.